We are locked and recorded.
Really? So you're going to hold it like that the entire time?
Like this. Is that better?
Yeah, I guess.
Like
I would not want to do it. But...
So I could see.
All right.
Well?
Can I do, what's up, everybody?
Don't do that.
Okay. Don't do that. Welcome back to episode number 2 of the Dream Crushers podcast.
Yes.
Last week went very well, I think. Very slow start, but we had some momentum at the end, and I think it turned out really well. So
yeah, definitely.
A little more pumped this time.
Yep. We got the energy levels up. We got our coffee in.
Yes.
We're good to go. It's early out here. Beautiful day.
Last week, somebody approached me already and said, hey, I really enjoyed the podcast, but why should I watch it? And why would anybody take anything that you guys say as fact? And the answer is 1, if you enjoyed it, that's the reason to watch it. And 2, don't take anything we say as fact.
Don't do that.
I'm nobody. I won't say that you're nobody because that's kind of...
I'm nobody too.
Rude. So we're nobody. And one of my favorite quotes from, it's a Buddhist quote, is believe nothing, no matter who says it, no matter where you read it, no matter if I have said it, unless it agrees with your own reason and your own common sense. So this episode is about open-mindedness. We decided to do that one.
Yep. Open-mindedness and perspective. Are we doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just see where it goes.
Yeah. We're doing open-mindedness, how it applies to our lives in recent, and how we feel that it's made us better people, better workers, helping us become more successful, and just in anything, not necessarily successful as in we're making a ton of money now because we're more open-minded, but it makes the day easier, and honestly I just feel better, and we'll dive into all that. So what is open-mindedness, at least to you? To me,
I know exactly what it is because I know everything. That's why.
And that's why this
take everything I say as fact.
I would say for me, being open-mindedness is being open to listening to people, ideas, facts, fallacies, stories, with an open mind, as in take your beliefs out of it while you're listening to it. When I was younger, in high school, I wrestled and stuff, and the coach told us one time that when you're in front of somebody, whether it's new or an older coach or whoever it is, somebody who's teaching you something or telling you something, to just sit there like a puppy dog with your tongue out, ready to learn and absorb everything. And then after the fact, you can decide for yourself what you think is good and can be useful, and you can put forward into your life or into your practice, or for, in that case, into wrestling and stuff. And it was interesting. That stuck with me for a long time, just being open to somebody teaching you something, because if you have this idea in your head that you already know what they're talking about, or you feel like you know everything, it's very difficult for new ideas to come in, even on like a subconscious level. You may not even be thinking about it like that, but if you feel like, oh, I'm the best photographer, and then somebody's talking to you about photography and you already think that you're better than them at photography, you're not going to learn anything. Even though I know a lot of people that know a ton of stuff, and they'll still listen to people that are new at it or incoming on it or may know a lot less than them, because they can still learn something from it. I think that's important to realize too, that even though somebody knows less than you do, you can still learn something from them, even if that something is... Maybe that person shouldn't be talking about that if they don't know about it. Mm-hmm. Like us. You can think that about us if you like.
Well, that's where the open-mindedness, too, comes in. I think I was telling you last week that open-mindedness to me is like an open door. So you can allow the thoughts into your brain. You can think about them and should think about them, but you don't have to take them as fact. And the door remains open. So if these thoughts don't agree with you, these opinions don't agree with you, you can just let them back out of that open door. And there's a fine line, maybe not even a fine line, maybe a big old fat line between gullibility and open-mindedness.
Yeah.
Open-mindedness does not mean to believe everything that you hear. So, for example, I try not to talk about religion, but should you be set in your ways in a certain religion, open-mindedness does not mean that if you're listening to somebody else's information on their religion that you have to take it as fact.
Yeah. Or
but
that you're
to just listen and not completely block it out because of your religion.
Yeah.
I don't, you know what? I don't, maybe that's against a lot of religion's rules, but
yeah. I mean, I would agree with that too. Just because you are able to open your mind, listen to somebody, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going back on what you believe, or, you know, you're being disloyal or betraying. You're just accepting certain parts of it, maybe, or maybe none of it at all. You know, yeah. It really comes down to, like you said, just because you listen to somebody doesn't mean you have to believe that or put that into use into your life. You know, you may talk to somebody that is like a really bad person, you know.
Yeah.
And I honestly do believe that you should be open-minded to what they're saying, even though at the end of the day you may be like, that is a bad person, my values do not match up with that at all, and I would never do that. That's okay. But still, if you're completely closed off to anything that they have to say, then you might miss something good that can come from something. Neil deGrasse Tyson once said something along the lines of the person who listens to something and just believes it is just as bad as the person that listens to something and takes it as not fact at all right away. His whole thing, one of his big things that he always talks about is learning, and you should question everything and listen to everything, question everything, find out what's true for yourself. And I think that's good because you know, you can be open to other people's ideas, maybe get rid of some of your confirmation bias. That's been a big thing for me over the last year or years maybe, trying to be more open-minded in life. And I realized after being more open-minded to different things, a lot of things weren't as I thought they were. And in comes like perspective. When you're open-minded, you gain much more perspective, and it's a lot easier for you to learn new things and just go through life when you have different perspectives on things. It's like another tool in your toolbox, I feel like, when you have different perspectives on things, how you can conquer different tasks in your life, things that are difficult. If you have, you know, you travel all over the world and people view things differently, and, you know, maybe people have a lot different problems than you have, but how they go about those things can be unique to how you go about some things, and maybe you can learn something from them. And that kind of comes back to the topic of being open-minded. You know, you can take some stuff for them, if anything, just their perspective on how they look at the thing they believe in. And even though you're not necessarily believing in that thing, just how you look at it and stuff like that. And yeah, it's interesting to find how things are different than you think they are when you become open-minded. And it's like trying a food for the first time, you know. Say, like, I think like a popular one for people is like sushi. Like the thought of it, it's like, oh, gross. Like you want to go and just eat raw fish. Like that sounds so gross. And then you try it, and if you like it, like most people, if they like it, they really like it. And it's like, wow, it seems like those things wouldn't really line up, but it's I know a lot of people that are really picky eaters and very close-minded, and I'll be like, oh, try this, and they'll finally try it, and I can see on their face they're already like saying yuck before they even put it in their mouth. You know, it's like they already decided that they don't like it, you know. And I think that's a huge thing. You're getting in your own way, because you could really like something, but because of the way you think about it, you are keeping yourself from it.
Like cereal commercials. Have you ever noticed that? Cereal commercials? Take a scoop of their cereal and they're like, It's like, are you serious? Taste buds don't work like that. It's like, you got to chew it for a couple
delicious.
seconds.
It's delicious before it's in your mouth.
So it's probably important to realize, and it's probably painful to realize also for a lot of people, unless you've been doing it for a while, is to realize that you don't know everything. In the grand scheme of things, you're borderline stupid. That's probably not very nice, is it? But you got to keep your mind open and realize that there's a lot to learn, that in this vast world, you don't know as much as you think you do. You don't even know yourself as well as you think you do. So just listening to other people gives you a chance to find new things. And you know, I really don't want to make this a religion thing, but it always comes back to religion for me, because I was born and raised Catholic. And it wasn't until I got old, and it was kind of that quote again, that don't believe anything unless it agrees with your own reason and own common sense and stuff like that. I started questioning things with my own religion. And for the record, I'm still very religious, but my mind has just gone to different places, and I'm no longer where I ended up when I was a kid, because that's where I was inserted and I didn't have a choice. Stand up, sit, kneel kind of thing. And there's just a lot of things that are just like, there's something weird about this. But I've experienced things in my life that has kept me very religious, but I am open to other things. And who are we to decide that, man, I don't want this to be about religion, but who are we to decide that we were born in this religion? This is the religion. There's so many religions out there that maybe nobody's right. Honestly, lately, you know what? I'm not going to say that. I am going to say that, but no, people are going to go away. I'm so open-minded that I wonder, it's funny, when I was a kid, before video games got awesome, I was like, what if we were in a video game? What if all this was fake? You know, nothing back here exists because the screen is right here and you don't exist. You're just whatever. And this is like before Matrix and all that stuff. And I was like, but God, VR is getting so incredible. What if we are actually like in a game and our God is nothing? It's just our buddy next to us and we're like living life, and it's actually just been 15 minutes of play, but it's like our entire life. Whatever. I don't actually think like that, so. But I'm open-minded.
That's a wormhole for another video, I think, for sure.
So you said perspective. I know what perspective is, as far as like, you know, like seeing through other people's eyes and putting yourself in other people's shoes. But I feel like there's more to that, because I hear like the phrase you said, gaining perspective. I don't know what that means.
So
is it just thinking deeper about what this person might be going through? And what
it doesn't even have to be like that for me. So I'm gonna back up a little bit about something you were talking about before, and open-mindedness. It's not just about being open to other people's ideas, but also about yourself. And being open-minded has led for me to learn more about myself as well. You're open-minded to your own ideas because kind of the way you were talking about religion, whatever somebody believes in, if they're in that belief track, I think oftentimes there'll be times when they themselves will think of something, but it won't agree with their religion or their beliefs, and so they'll muffle it down and stuff it away instead of being open to exploring that part of your own thoughts. And I think perspective is something that you can gain from others, but as well as yourself. And having perspective just kind of helps look at things differently. Literally, how you see something. If you're looking at the cup of coffee, and on the cup it says something, you know, number one dad.
That's a good idea.
And you look on the other side of the cup, and it's just a blank cup. That cup, depending on how you look at it, looks like a completely different cup. And that's just kind of like a super simple thing. But I mean, that applies to other things in your life as well. When you kind of become more open-minded, and you grow a little bit and you gain perspectives, you can start looking at yourself from different angles and looking at different aspects of your life from different angles, you know. I know sometimes it's difficult for people that are in relationships to see maybe it's not a good relationship, and maybe the person they're with is being mean to them, or maybe they're not the nicest to the person that they're with. And it's oftentimes the friends and family that are on the outside that have a different perspective on it that can tell you to it. It's so hard to see when you're in it. You kind of got the blinders on. And I feel like being more open-minded and open to different perspectives, it makes it easier for you to take yourself out of that situation and maybe look at it from a different point, maybe from the viewpoint of others or something like that. And that's kind of an example of how it could help you grow as a person and see things so that you didn't have to rely on others. Because I know for me, like I try to be open-minded, and again, I wouldn't say like I'm the most open-minded person. I still struggle listening to people, and I find myself making my own confirmation biases, and it makes it difficult for me to learn new things sometimes. And I think being able to put myself into a different perspective and see something for myself can make it a little bit easier for me to change than if somebody else was telling me, maybe. And so yeah, I think that's an important thing too, is being able to learn things on your own, and not only from people as well. Figuring things out for yourself, that's kind of always been I've always loved taking things apart and kind of figuring out how they worked, and I know you were kind of the same way. And it's kind of the same thing with your life and with your own mind. You kind of dive in there and figure out how things work, and that's kind of what this whole podcast and journey is for us as well, is just kind of figuring out how we think about things and trying to think about them a little bit differently maybe, and kind of be a better human.
So we mentioned last week, or touched briefly on being born with certain abilities. I feel like some people have that urge to learn more, whether it be about themselves or not, and then some people just plateau and they just go straight. I don't know where I'm going with that. But I feel like you're not the person to ask, no offense, but what makes a person more interested in bettering themselves versus somebody who's not?
I would say being unhappy with where they're at.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because that was kind of where it was for me. I got to a point where life wasn't bad. I wouldn't really say that like my life has ever been terrible. It just got to a point where, like you said, it plateaued. And I think that if you're no longer progressing and you're just kind of staying the same, you're not really staying the same, you're kind of getting worse slowly. It may be really slow, but I think it's important to constantly grow as a person, learn new things. And yeah, I kind of got to a point in my life where I just kind of flatlined out. I was cruising through life. I had my career, and I was in a relationship, and things just weren't where I wanted them to be when I kind of thought about the grand scheme of my life. And I wanted, everybody wants their life to continually get better. I don't think anybody wants to just kind of live a bland, boring life. I mean, maybe you do, and that's okay too. As long as you're happy doing whatever you're doing, that's okay.
Be honest with yourself, though.
Yeah, for sure.
You made me realize that last time, and so it's cool that I'm actually taking away stuff just from one episode already. It's just that other people think differently, and that it's totally all right to, let them be and lead by example. You said last time. What does our time look like? It's freaking me out.
20 minutes.
All right, we need to start wrapping it up. But, yeah, I completely lost track of what I was saying. What was I saying?
Letting people be content with where they're at. Some people are on different sections of their journey, in life, and just because we are like super motivated right now, we weren't always like that, and some people are not like that right now. Some people don't want to hear any of this right now, and that's okay. I've definitely been there in my life where it's like, I don't care what you say. I
think that's what I was getting at, though.
Content doing what I'm doing right now, and I don't need to be rich and successful to be happy or anything. And
know the difference, though, between being honest with yourself and comforting yourself, because there is a fine line there somewhere between letting somebody be, and then I feel like I got to do my part right now and be like, you know what, do you, that's fine, but at least be honest with yourself. If you were to die, or if you were trapped in a burning car right now, would you be all right with everything that you've done? I mean, if you can be that honest with yourself,
yeah,
fantastic.
I think,
you know what, I've got a great family, I've got a wife that loves me and a beautiful daughter. I would be happy right now. I mean, I don't want to die in a fire because that sucks, but
yeah.
All in all, it's like, you know what, that's what I set out to do, is to get it. If you can be that honest with yourself, fantastic. But
yeah,
be honest with yourself,
yeah.
and don't comfort yourself just because you haven't made it anywhere yet.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is fine. But
and look at and look at yourself honestly often. I was listening to a Gary Vaynerchuk video, and he said that every morning when he wakes up, he imagines his wife and kids dying. And he said it's a somber and like terrible moment, but it pumps him up and gives him fuel to get through the day and chase his dreams, so that he has zero regrets when this ride comes to a screeching halt. And you never know when it is, and that's the biggest thing. And I think that's kind of where I've gotten my urgency from more recently. Is, I know it's kind of a cliche thing we're always talking about, and we're always told, life is short, have no regrets. But it's like, remind yourself that often, if not daily, that if you're going to die today, do you have regrets? Do you have regrets of people that you've hurt, or of dreams that you've never chased, of excuses that you've made? And put those into perspective. And I mean, at the end of the day, you do not want to be on your deathbed and have regrets about what you didn't do, because I feel like in that moment, I don't know, I've never been there, but I feel like in that moment, those dreams would seem a lot less scary right before you die, and you're thinking about wishing that you would have done them, because, man, I don't want that.
Yeah. All right, we really got to wrap it up because we're going to get cut off here any second.
Get a couple bullet points.
Open your mind.
Open your mind.
Open your mind. Allow information in. Let it out if you feel like it. Basically, listen to what people like us have to say and decide if it's something you want to listen to, and try to gain new perspective.
Yes.
Can't really talk about it right now, so we're going to have to do it some other time, but kind of like to talk sometime about how to gain perspective from other people. You have to talk to people.
Yeah, I think for right now, I would just say be open-minded. The perspective will come. We'll kind of talk more deeply about that in another video. But honestly, just being open-minded, listening to other people, even if it's somebody that you think is stupid and you can't agree with them on anything, just listen to them, take in what they have to say. If at the end of that you still think that they're an idiot, then that's okay. But, be open to people and ideas, and let it flow in, let it flow out, and take what you feel will help you along in your journey in life. And yeah, that's basically it. As far as being open-minded.
Good. So take these things and go crush your dreams.